Hello, gorgeous Gemini, and welcome to April 2020. Reporting to you from a very interesting point in the world, as you all know. And Gemini, we have some interesting months coming up ahead for anyone with strong Gemini in their chart, because starting in April, we are starting our Venus work. So Venus moves into your sign on April 3rd. And by about April 10th, Venus is hitting the degree that begins its pre-shadow phase before its retrograde, which does not begin until May 13th. So April isn't full retrograde motion yet, but like I said, starting in April, the Venus work that we will be doing in Gemini for the next 3-ish months starts. 4 months, really, if you include all the post-shadow work as well. So we are doing some introspection here. Now, I kind of like when a sign or when a retrograde is happening in like a more personal sign, one that has to do with your identity or who you are in the world, because unlike sometimes when they hit into different aspects of our chart where maybe it's about the external world or how we connect with it, when you have a retrograde going on in your sign, you are doing some more looking in with yourself and your relationship to yourself and what you love and value. So while April, like I said, is not going to be the actual retrograde, this is a time of introspection and huge change in who you are becoming. So we have Venus moving through your sign, which is really beautiful and very conversive and curious and playful and wants to explore, right? It's a very exploratory sign for Venus to be in. But you also have a full moon in Libra on April 7th in your 5th heart chakra house, along with the fact that a ton of energy is moving into Taurus, the sign right before you. And when we have energy moving into the sign right before us, this is when we start to do even deeper introspection, right? So, of course, the sun moves into Taurus on the 19th, and we have a new moon in Taurus on the 22nd. We have Sun and Uranus conjunct in Taurus on the 25th, and then Mercury enters Taurus on the 27th. So as April continues to move forward, you're going to be noticing more and more of there being a spiritual element to the month for you, where it starts off maybe a little flirtier, a little more conversive, and a little bit more like, let's have conversations, let's ask questions. You may be finding that road to the internal starts to come up more and more and more. This is going to be an intensive time of transformation for you Geminis out there. Just in general, the next few months are going to be all about getting real with that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Some of the greatest growth in our lives, some of the greatest things that happen in our lives happen in a time where we feel like we're actually going backwards, or we're going really internal, or we're slowing down. Right when we think that we are at our slowest point, or we are at the point where we have the least amount of answers, we are often actually activating and tapping into our true path in life. And that's what I'm kind of noticing here with you all, is that there may be a sensation like on the surface less is happening. What just popped out? 3 of Swords. Oh, that's fun. Really what's happening is a deeper understanding of yourself and your journey and your path in life. It's huge stuff. So the messages that came through for me, for Geminis, as I sat and I looked at your energy, was reassessment and rebirth are going to be huge for you right now. There's a really big wave of energy you guys are riding on. Page of Swords. All the way through July. That has everything to do with you finding liberation of your voice, finding new skill sets and talents, and really owning your beacon and your light in the world. 5 of Cups. There's some grief going on here. And partly I see that coming up for a very clear and specific reason. That has to do with when we are changing and growing into who we are becoming and changing shape and meeting the next version of ourselves and realizing we're living in a world that cannot go back, Queen of Pentacles, to maybe what it was even a few weeks ago, right? grief is a part of the process of growth, regardless of how amazing the growth is. Regardless of how happy you are about it or how good it is, you may experience the next few months of transformation as very positive growth in good directions. New opportunities, new connections, new ways of seeing, new levels of healing, new ways of seeing yourself. All of that could be coming up. 4 of Cups. And you could still feel like something's lost. Something is irretrievable. There is no return, right? There is no such thing as a return. There is only movement through the worlds. 6 of Cups. Wow, there's so much introspection here, Geminis, in these cards. We're going to pull 2 more and then let's get into it. The Page of Wands. The astrology for this month is revelatory. It's all about revelation. And Queen of Wands. Okay, so you've got pages, you've got queens, and then a whole bunch of introspection underneath. And that is exactly what's going on. This is a revelatory month. This is a truth-speaking month. This is a month where new paradigms are getting put right on the surface. There's so much energy moving into air signs. Key things are happening in air signs. Venus is working through Gemini, working towards her retrograde. Saturn is now in Aquarius, which means we're adjusting to the logic of Aquarius. And for you, that has everything to do with your mindset in the world and evolving your consciousness and the way you perceptualize your world and your place in it. That's going to be going on for a long time to come. And we have that full moon in Libra lighting up the sky. So these are all very intellectual energies, right? All 3 air signs are getting activated this month in huge ways. And it's asking us to think about our stories, think about the way we speak to ourselves, think about how we mythologize ourselves. And this is hitting really hard into you specifically, into the way you speak your truth, the way you feel through things, and the way you see and perceive the world around you. Now, like I said, you got all these really strong energies of the Page of Wands, the Page of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Pentacles. These are very strong, clear, crisp energies. Know their value, know their message, curious, playful, secure. But yet there's a theme going on here that I'm noticing that has to do with, yes, deep grieving, deep questioning, and uncertainty. When I look at these first 4 cards, you can see the dialogue happening here, right? 3 of Swords, Page of Swords, 5 of Cups, Queen of Pentacles. Now, of course, the classic reading of this, right, would be, oh, well, there's a breakup and something's going to happen and somebody's leaving and new information's coming in that changes everything and nothing can be the way that it was and you're having to learn to self-value, sure. But I see something deeper happening here than that. What I see is that when we step into a new world, a new opportunity, a new way of seeing, a new way of understanding ourselves, when we own our power, when we tap into that, there is a bittersweetness of it. If we choose our full power here in the Queen of Pentacles, it means that we go through these stages here. Clarity of vision, understanding that what was can never come back and be again. Understanding that we are closest to source and closest to spirit when we are in unfamiliar, uncertain territory. When we are in the act of grieving and surrender, we are tapping into something much more profound than anything that has to do with control or forcing our way forward or having the answers, right? There is a deep revelatory release and joy that can come from this kind of grieving. And what I'm talking about here is one of the messages that came through for you all was that you're meeting your new self. And as you meet your new self, it's not like just one day you wake up and it's done and you're like, I'm who I am. You have to learn how to be that new person, and it takes weeks, months, sometimes years to activate and accumulate those daily practices, those daily little routines that help you feel like you are who you are. And there's an unfamiliarity to it. It's kind of like getting shipped off to boarding school or something, and suddenly you're having to wake up at a certain time and eat a certain way or do certain lessons, and you don't know how to do them yet. And that's what I'm seeing here. You're stepping into firmer territory, clearer, self-valuing territory, but it does mean that something else is going away. And this is the type of work that I'm saying is coming up on the spiritual level for you all over the next several months. Something to keep in mind all the way through July. It's a theme that will be running through your evolution this whole next quarter of the year, third of the year. And it will take you to deep places. It will take you back to the beginning, to the foundational bedrock of whatever mythology you have written for yourself before. And it's going to show you time and again how some of those mythologies, they've snuck along with you. Even if you've done a lot of work on yourself, we always have these little sneaky parts that seem logical, and yet they keep informing how we choose the people we have in our lives, how we choose to use our energy, how we judge what we do or we don't do. And this is part of the profound and super impactful work you're doing. Now, here's the thing. The next two cards are extremely introspective and spiritual. 4 of Cups, 6 of Cups. These are cards of reflection and kind of even working through the concept of time, right? Like looking back over how you've connected with others, how you've romanticized perhaps what's been, how you've held on to what's been, how maybe, even if you're impatient for the next thing and you're ready for the next thing, you're ready for the next connective relationship in your life or the next opportunity or the next landing spot for all that mutable air energy to move through the world, that there's a part of you that still feels like it needs to hold on to something from the past. So this is something that's coming up. The past coming up here. And you have a choice. You have agency within this to choose how you want to address that or connect with that. You can choose to hold on to it and let it take you with it, or you can choose to see it for what it is and release. Because here's the thing, you have an invitation. You have an invitation with the Page of Wands and the Queen of Wands to be visionary here. Like I mentioned a little earlier, a lot of energy is moving into Taurus as April moves, right? And we start getting deeper and deeper into your 12th spiritual house. Now, as you get deeper into the 12th spiritual house, that's where this 4 of Cups and 6 of Cups is going to feel really vibrant, technicolor almost. Because it's going to take you to those hidden parts of yourself that are not about the performance. They're not about the external. They're not about what your life looks like on the surface. This is about what's going on the inside. And where you may even feel like you're going backward rather than forward. However, the only way to go forward is to go backward and to look and move through this energy with courage. And as you move through whatever it is that's coming up here that's so deep and connected to your soul and your journey, you get something lit up that has to do with your future, that has to do with how you move through the world. Opportunities are huge here. Air energy does very well when fire is lighting it up, getting it moving, getting it flowing through the world. And I see that here in these two cards. Whatever other pain, we look at the 3 of Swords and the 5 of Cups and the 4 of Cups and the 6 of Cups. My goodness, these are really deep cards. They can feel like they're the only reality that will ever exist again. And that even if we don't know how we're going to move forward, maybe this is just the new reality, to just be in this kind of grief overwhelm phase. But that's an illusion. It's an illusion. And really what's happening in April is you're getting invited to a seat at a new table. But it means that all that grieving, all that release, all that letting go of what was is creating that space for you. And you're doing it in a very effective manner. So this is not a surface month, my friends. This is not about the surface. This is not about what things look like and how if they look good or they look acceptable, or you can write it down on paper and say, this is it. You may even find that there's a lot of slowdown on things that you thought you wanted, or a quietness on things that you thought there was a lot of momentum on. And that could get really frustrating, and you might have that initial reaction to judge it and say, oh no, I'm doing something wrong, I don't have value, I'm not allowed to be here, maybe I was mistaken this whole time. But take a moment, if that voice does come up for you this month, and look at it and ask it some questions. Ask it if it really knows what it's talking about, and really reconsider any of those mythologies that have to do with the self-value being based on your movement through the world and what that looks like on the surface, because you are being guided by your soul and not by what things look like on the external. So, I have a few very simple affirmations for April as we kind of navigate this new world that we are in, and this energetic shift that we are in, and getting our sea legs, understanding what it means to be working with Saturn in Aquarius, to be working with Venus retrograde in Gemini. These are big energies, and it does feel unfamiliar, and it will feel unfamiliar, and that is okay. But we do need soothing, we do need ease at this time, and we do need reminders of the divine in our process so that we don't get locked into the old ways of processing things. So, here are your affirmations. I trust the changes coming in. I open my heart to new solutions and paths. I rest into the changes coming my way and know they are meant for me. I rest into the solutions that are for me. I rest into the divine actions that will lead me forward into grace, joy, connection, and love. I love that. I love that idea that we can rest into action rather than forcing it or believing that in that act of force that is where the value lies. And this is a huge part of Uranus moving through your 12th house as well. The planet of revolution is moving through a very feminine sign of Taurus, and it's moving through a very spiritual sign for you specifically, in a part of your chart that is activating your access to the divine, your revolutionary ability to make change in the world via the unseen, via the hidden, via the energetics of the world. And that's really important at this time. So you're going to be getting a little more used to that being more and more of how you get things done in the world. And it's unfamiliar at times. It's overwhelming at times. It has grief and sadness at times, but not all the time. And as you get more used to it, you'll realize that what seemed like it was needing grieving or needing time to be sad about feels lighter and easier. So kind of trust into the rhythmic nature of April and how it's slowly but surely forming into something new this month. Of course, I will be opening up more sessions. I do have a handful of sessions for late April right now on my calendar. So if you're interested in working one-on-one with me and need some support during these times, I would love to work with you, so you can go check out that. And I will be opening up more sessions in May as well for one-on-one work. You can also join me on Patreon, where we are doing so much good soothing and healing and connection. I would love to see you over there. I just have one tier. It's all inclusive. You get everything that I produce over there. It's a lot of extras, worksheets, weekly astrology discussions, any big transits, new moon activations, lots of great resources over there if you want to spend a little more time with me and need a little bit more soothing and ease during this time. I would love to see you there. And of course, I'm wearing PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry. She's got her brass collection running, and she's always coming up with something new, so go check her out as well. I love you all so much in this time of huge transition and huge transformation, transmutation. This is a time to tap in that much more deeply to our divine power and to trust in that as a guiding force in this life. I love you, Geminis, so, so much. And I hope you take that time to value yourselves through this process. I will talk to you so soon.